Hello Year 9, welcome to this lesson. We're going to start off by looking at some translation, and then we're going to finish by combining all of the transformations we've learned to this point. So that's reflection, rotation, enlargement, and translation. So let's get started. Question 1, it's asking you to describe the translation for each shape onto its image. So the shape is the letter by itself, the image is the black outline with the apostrophe next to it. Okay, so pause the video, have a go at those, please. Describe the directions that each of them have been moved. Okay, let's have a look at some answers. Okay, so make sure you mark all of your work here, correct where you need to, check if you went wrong anywhere, where you went wrong, before we move on. Okay, so when we describe translations normally, rather than building out several sentences like we just did, we instead use what's called a column vector, which you may have seen before, these brackets. Okay, and what this does is tells us nice and neatly how we translate an object. Okay, so this top number is always your X movement, your horizontal movement, and the bottom number is your Y movement, your vertical movement, okay? Remember, our positive directions on a graph are right and up, and our negative directions are left and down. So for example, this first column vector would tell us that our shape is moving 2 to the right and 3 down, whereas this column vector here would show us we're moving 3 to the left and 2 up. Okay, which you can see is what's happened here in this worked example. So please copy down all the notes that you need to, pause and rewind this bit of the video as much as you need before we move on. Okay, so let's apply this to a question then. So we've got our shape A here, and we need to translate by each of these vectors. And once you've done it, please mark your shape with the appropriate letter, okay? Okay, so hopefully you paused and had a go. If not, please do that now because I'm about to go through the answers. And these are what you should have got. So please make sure you mark and add any corrections. Make sure you can work out whether or not you understand how to do this. Okay, so just quickly, so we can see 2 right, 3 up for B, 3 right, 4 down for C, 2 left and no vertical movement for D, no horizontal movement and 3 up for E, and 1 left, down 4 for F. Okay. Well done if you got all those. So number 3, now this is similar to number 1. We're talking about describing the translations, but this time they want you to do it using a column vector. Okay, so make sure you're happy with column vectors up to this point, and then see if we can work out each of these. So just a hint with part A, when it says B to A, it's asking you to start at B and describe the translation to get to A. Okay, that's the order each of these is going to be. So pause the video, have a go at these, please. Okay, let's see how you did. So provided you went in the correct direction, then you should have got these. And what do you notice about the link between D and E? And in fact, if you accidentally did these shapes the wrong way round, what do you notice between the incorrect answer and the correct answer? Okay, see if you can spot that link. In the meantime, pause the video to finish marking and then we will move on. Okay, so this one's asking you to draw your own coordinate grid on some squared paper. Remember, links in the description. If you haven't already got some square paper, you can print some of your own. And it's asking you to plot a triangle and then translate it at 2 different points. Be careful that you're aware of which triangles you're moving where. And then once we've got to triangle R, it's asking you how we could have got there in one go from triangle P. So pause the video, give that a go, please. Okay, let's see how you did. So P, Q, and R should have looked as follows. And we should have ended up with a final vector of -1, 5. At this point, pause the video and have a look at that discussion point. See what you can come up with as an answer for parts B, for the two vectors in part B, and what do you notice about any connection to the answer of part C? Okay, and so what you should have hopefully noticed is that the two vectors here added up to our final vector here, our resultant vector. And this very much does what it says on the tin, because it's the result or the total of our two vectors in order to get there. So when we're adding vectors together, the result is called the resultant vector. Okay. So make sure you copy this note down for me. Okay, let's move on. Question 6. So we've got a translation by one given vector, and then we're followed by another given vector, and we're asked for the resultant vector. So hopefully we can work that out. And then once you've done that, it would like you to add these algebraic vectors. Okay, so pause the video, see what you can do with these. Okay, let's look at some answers. So for part A, should have been 4, 1. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult. And then for B, we're just adding the X directions together and adding the Y directions together. That's always how we'll get our resultant vector. Well done if you got those. And now we're going to have a look at some questions that combine different transformations. So it's asking you to first copy this diagram, but just shape A. Okay, we're going to keep coming back to this diagram for different questions. So for the moment, we only want to draw shape A on our diagram. So copy that out on some squared paper if you can. Okay, and it wants you to do a translation and then a reflection. So pause the video and please try and give this a go. Okay, let's have a look at how we did. So the first one, we were moving by 3 and -2. So 3 to the right, 2 down. That's how you should have got B. And then B, it asks you to reflect in the line y equals -2. Well done if you remembered that y equals lines are actually horizontal. So this is the line you should have reflected in. And so then hopefully you got this part C as your answer. Okay, question 8 then. So the same diagram. This time we're just going to look at shape P. So again, do your 6 to -6 graph, please, and just copy down shape P. And this time we can see we've got a reflection, a rotation, and a translation. And then at the end, it wants us to tell them exactly how we could go from our original shape P onto our final shape S in one translation. Okay, so this is going to be a good 4 or 5 marks if this were an exam question. So don't worry if you're spending 5 or so minutes answering this, but pause the video, give it a go, please. And let's have a look at the answers. Okay, so mark your work with having a look at P, Q, R, and S. Make sure you've got them all in the correct coordinates. And then you can see that P to S could have been achieved by a single reflection in this line, which remember, a vertical line is an x equals line, okay? And question 9, you can probably see where this is going. Now we've got shape V that we're going to do different transformations to. So pause the video and give this a go for me, please. Okay, remember, if we can't remember, the line y equals x is a diagonal line that goes through each of the points where x and y are the same. So 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, etc. That's your line that we're going to do our first reflection in. Okay, pause the video, give it a go. Okay, this was quite a tricky question, so let's see how you did. Okay, so remember when it's in the line y equals x, all of your movements rotate. Okay, so right becomes up, up becomes right, left becomes down, down becomes left in all your directions. So this is what your reflection should have looked like. Okay, then we translated and rotated. And we can hopefully see this is the line that would have got us from V to Y, which is the line x equals 1. If you had any trouble with that, then please let me know and I'll break some bits down for you. And finally, an exam style question here. So first it wants us to tell them exactly how we get from P to Q in one movement. Then we've got to do some reflection and some translation. And then from that, we have our shape R and we need to describe how we could get from Q to R, okay? So again, we can see this is a 7-mark question, so spend a bit of time on this, okay? There's no need to rush. Pause the video, give it a go, please. Okay, let's see how it looks. So from P to Q, we got a movement of 6, -1. Hopefully that wasn't too difficult. And normally this would only be a 1-mark question, really, but you may be lucky and get a 2-marker. For B, we could see first we had to reflect triangle P in the x-axis. So remember, when you reflect through something and there's an overlap, both sides have to reflect over. So your triangle S should have looked like this. And then we just needed to translate to get to R. So if you got this correct, then R should have been fairly easy to also get. And then how do we get from Q to R? Well, we can see it's a reflection in this horizontal line, y equals 1. Okay, so really well done for getting through that. If you've got any questions at all, please email me and I will happily walk you through it. Thank you very much.